couldn't let this one go. I had one of those dreams. My girlfriend came to my graduation and she said, I wish I had received my master's degree. I thought, was that a slip of the tongue? Did she mean degree? No, I don't have my master's degree. No, I was positive it was a decree. And I looked in the Bible, that was God's eternal purpose. That was His foreordained plan. It was a spiritual authority that gave you a mandate, directive to the destiny of your life. And of course, a degree is a tangible symbol, it's an honor, it's an intellectual pursuit. And there's an invisible path that you get when you follow your master's degree. And I wondered, had I graduated from a spiritual education? Had I finally laid my grandiose plans down and followed His? I didn't know the answer to that question. And why did this friend suddenly yearn for something that she missed and wanted to change directions? Well, I was from a very confident family. I had this problem. I was very insecure and inadequate. When she talks about it, I didn't know who I was. And my mother was a college professor, my dad a bank president, my brother a star athlete, my sister a lawyer and senior executive for her office, and I was looking for my strengths. And they didn't have strength back then. And so I really wondered, what was I made to do? And I did make the cheerleader squad, and I was a good athlete, but I was just an average learner. And I wanted to be the most excellent. I wanted to make my mark. We all want to be significant. And I wasn't the most excellent in anything. And I noticed my sister, she was a lawyer, became a lawyer. She was getting a lot of attention from her scholastic ability. And I wanted to imitate her. And that's it. I did have another hint. My fourth grade teacher told my parents, Holly would be a poet and an author. And I was thrilled that somebody in authority said that I had some creative ability. But I didn't have the discipline to do it. I didn't have the patience to grind through those paragraphs over and over again, and I never knew how to finish a project. And my mom, as a professor, came through and helped me edit it and finish the work. And I never learned how to finish the work. And then a competitive spirit grew between my sister and I because I began to think, I need to be smarter. That's what I need to do. And I would like to understand my math problems better. And I would like to understand those jokes that my parents tell on the way to church. And my sister right in the middle of them, giggling away, and I'm 2 years younger, and I don't get it. And I'm in the back seat with my brother, who he's in his own world. I'll even think of as G.I. Joe and Combat is his favorite TV show. But I felt terribly left out. And I got to college, I got to church, and I took out a pencil and I wrote it on the leaflet, and I said, Dear God, all I want for Christmas is the gift of understanding. That's all I want. And did you know, I think that God began to answer that prayer, but way down the road and not how I expected, but He did the gift of understanding. Now, if I could have heard His voice that day, I believe He would have said, Holly, I want you to know about what success means in my kingdom. I want you to know how to stand in the shoes of others, to give compassion and love. I want you to know that I make the foolish to shame the wise, the weak to shame the strong. You can qualify in my kingdom. You know, I would love to hear that because I kept thinking of what I should be and what I wasn't. And a competitive spirit grew between my sister and I. Can you relate? We've all come into this world and see them on beautiful actresses, models, musicians, athletes, and we model ourselves after them. And we don't know not to. And so many of us are so disappointed when we're not the next American Idol. Envy is desiring something that somebody else has.
All right.
Jealousy is being afraid of losing what you already have.
All right.
Well, I was guilty of both. I wanted Jill's brains and I wanted the parents' attention. shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. So I'm out jogging one morning before my class, and I say, I'm a little bit venting at God, actually. And I'm saying, God, you know, my life has not turned out like I planned. My husband has some anger issues I didn't know about. Had these 2 toddlers in a row, and they're a handful. My parents are divorced. I'm depressed. What is the truth for me? And how will it set me free? And did you know I heard something in my spirit? It said, Holly, I want to bless you, but you're going to take responsibility for your actions. Now go and get rid of your offenses, or they'll build up like a huge snowball and be too burdensome to carry. That even if it's not your fault, even if it's unfair, put it back in there for I can bless you. You remember that fairy tale, Sleeping Beauty, where the godmothers came in and gave the girl a blessing in the kingdom? Well, I'm going to bless you. But then the wicked witch came and gave a curse. And that's what the enemy wants to do to you, is harbor unforgiveness. So now go, I will be with you. I was like, oh, that just scared me, God in the universe. I want to first say that there's not a ding bone in my body, and I never on purposely would have hurt anyone. And yet it's telling me that was my decree. I would get rid of my offenses. Well, I made my list, and I called, and I went to some, and I wrote a note. But there was one girl in my neighborhood, Melanie, who I really admired. Okay, indeed. She had a bigger house, and she was married to the doctor, and she had the 2 kids that were perfectly groomed, and she had life managed. And I wish I could trade places with her. My husband was in a situation, and she seemed so confident. And I wrote her a note, and I said, Melanie, I really admire your family, but I crossed the line as a Christian because I envied you, and for that I apologize, and I'm really sorry, and I'm going to bless your family. And I left it at that. Ladies, and that was so humbling. That was embarrassing because I didn't hear back. It was really pushing my rejection button. But a few months later, a Bible study had an orientation, and I invited 4 ladies in the neighborhood, and Melanie came too. By the end of the study, Melanie had recommitted her life to the Lord and her whole family, and she became very active in her church as a choir director. And I don't say this to notch myself, although we all love notches. I say that because God made me a decree, and it opened up a door of opportunity, and He wooed her back to Him. Yay, God! I would like to see the fruitfulness of God's ways. We follow Him. And about that time, I still didn't think I needed to make amends with my sister. Well, I love my sister, but I didn't know you couldn't love somebody completely when you're competing with them. So I married. Well, we know that. But I went to counseling. We started going to counseling. It was time we admitted that our marriage wasn't where we'd like it to be. And we wanted our kids to inherit the promises of God, not our issues. Well, God started to orchestrate our healing through dreams. And our counselor, who we really thought a lot of, he was a pastor too, and he was familiar with them. I wasn't familiar with any of the symbols, or that God even used that today. That I had memorized that Hebrews 13:8, that Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And he said, I think you've got to something useful for a service. And there was some that was for common use, and some that was for mobile use. And I thought, it must be for common use. But then there was one that we had this treasure in jars of clay, so that we know that the all-surpassing power is from God and not us.
Amen.
And I looked in the footnote, and there were Jews in that day had these plain, dull-looking pots. And they were valuable. And no one would know. They wouldn't attract anyone from the outside. They had the valuables in it. And I understood it was the Holy Spirit. When He put in us, there's something to attract us.
Amen.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But then there was Isaiah 45 and Romans 9. I said, why did you make me like this? And I knew I'd ask that because it's so fun. Why wasn't I smart for 3 years? Whatever. And I had been grateful. And then the potter answered and said, well, you turn things upside down as if you think you were the boss. Don't you know I know what I make and how I'm going to use it? And that silenced me. That silenced me. Well, I went on to the character study. I thought, what characters were comparing with each other? Well, there was Joseph and his brothers. There was David and Saul. There was Sarah and Hagar, Rachel and Leah. Houston, we have a problem. Oh, my word. There's so many in the Bible that compare themselves. And what do they compare themselves for? Favor, possessions, having children, husbands, you name it. But my eyes fell on Jacob and Esau because they were siblings. And they were vying for their inheritance, blessing and inheritance.
Yes.
And I thought, are there any parallels?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and there were. But Jacob began grasping after the heel of Esau when he was born. And that's a Hebrew idiom meaning supplanter, schemer, deceiver. And his mother had been told when she was pregnant, the younger would serve the older. And she was determined that Jacob would get the blessing.
Yes.
And as we know, they tricked Esau and Isaac into the blessing of the birthright, and temporarily they had won. But then Esau was so angry when he found out. He vowed to kill him when his dad died. And Jacob, had to run. And he ran to Haran to work for Uncle Laban. And he wanted to marry Rachel, the beautiful daughter. He worked 7 years. And because he had sowed the seed of deception, it was leaped on him because he never saw it coming that he had for 7 more years to give Rachel. And I often wonder that he had saved 7 years by waiting and following God's decrees. But he had time at that time to ponder his past and prepare for his future. And he knew that he had wronged Esau. And when he left Uncle Laban with his families, he heard that Esau was coming with 400 men down the path. He thought, at But at the end of the day, and I did a little Bible study in my house, so I had some sociability. But at the end of the day, I got in my prayer closet and I said, "What? This is a good work, but what happened to great exploits I was going to do for you? No, I really wanted to make my mark. So I'm here, I will confess. You know what? I put my husband and my sons before you because I needed their love so desperately. And you know what? The mission I think you gave me, I put before you because I wanted to do it so bad. And you know what? I posted a little bit about my accomplishments sometimes because somebody had to. You know, my cup was just half full from my childhood because I kept getting mad at you and you was it. But I'm sorry, God, because your word says your power is made perfect in weakness. And then I should have posted out my weaknesses so your power could rest on me. That's what I want, but I just want a relationship with you. I just want to care for concern for your reputation and your name. And I'm sorry. And Mom and Dad, I'm going to give you back the mission on the altar here because I can accomplish it. And as I was leaving the prayer closet, I was impressed with two scriptures. And Psalm 131 says, "My heart is not proud, my eyes are not haughty. I do not think of great matters or things too wonderful for me. I'm still and quiet in my soul, like a weaned child, there is none. My soul is like a weaned child. Oh, Israel, trust in the Lord now and forever." And I thought, quit trying to, I feel like God was saying, get still, get quiet, and depend on me to deliver you into that promise. Quit running around trying to save yourself and striving about this. And just trust. And the other one was like, you'll no longer be called deserted or your land desolate, but you'll be new land and desolate, because your land will be big and fruitful. So, and you're given a new name. Well, the last thing was discovery of my mission at last. Actually, God gave me a dream, and it was kind of a look back at how I struggled with my identity. And I was driving in my sister's car, and it was a very bumpy trail. And when I put my hands out to the steering wheel to receive what God had for me, the car turned 180 degrees and started going towards my destiny. And at last, I received my mission. So, I couldn't wait to call my sister the next day, finally, to reconcile with her. And I told her I have a tailor-made mission. And she was so happy for me from that moment. And I told her I was sorry I tried to emulate her all my life. And she said, well, she had too. She had been too when I said that she had been jealous of some of my gifts and talents and that we were just trying to vie for the parents' attention. And she became my biggest cheerleader for the all. She started sending cards. Go ahead. She started sending cards, a sister book that was so awesome. And these were just some of the things she put on it. And one of the neatest ones was, well, even though sisters appear to be some from a different pattern, they were common thread and growth about people years or distance. Keep going. See that? Okay, yeah, go back. Oh, all right, that's fine. Okay, and then, so last summer, we went to Santa Fe, and we were going through a museum, art museum, and we had a tour guide, and I like pots now, and I saw one across the list that was just beautiful, and I couldn't wait to hear the story. And he said, when Rick Dillingham was making this pot, it exploded in his hands, and instead of throwing it away, he picked up all the pieces and he glued them back together. He reassembled them, he rebuilt them, he painted it, he refined it, he refired it, and it was more beautiful and unique than it had ever been before. And from then on, he knew how to practice his process. He wrote So every time, put it back together and refire it and reassemble it.
Yeah.
And that's what he wants to do with us.
Amen.
Thank you, Jesse, and for hands. Not by mine, not by. And then finally, for my fourth grade, I finished something. And so, how do we get to our destiny? Obeying his degrees. And we would need to practice and develop our gifts. And we need to fan our gift into flame. And we need to forgive others, which requires humility. And we need to make sure our motives are right. And remember who we're assigned to, not what God can do for you. Yes.
While she's getting mic'd up, there is a survey in your folder. We will